All right, yeah, good, good. I'm glad. Yeah, everyone's like sitting there like, come on. Oh, come on. There's always time for fun. Here's what we're going to do. And many of you know I love to do the Fahrenheit to centigrade example. I do it in almost every class, even the English classes I teach. No, I'm just kidding. Well, this time we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to try to have some fun with it. And here's what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to put in a box where we enter in a temperature in Fahrenheit. And for the purposes of this, it's too depressing to think of, colder than freezing and hotter than 212. Well, we don't really have to worry about that too much. So we're going to limit this value to be between 0 and 212. Which is, between 32 and 212, which is between the boiling point and freezing point, or freezing point and boiling point of water, all right, which will map to 0 to 100 Celsius, all right. Here's what we're going to do. When we enter in a temperature in Fahrenheit, let's say we enter in 70 degrees Fahrenheit. What is 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? Well, it's less than that, right? It is, if I remember right, Celsius equals Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5/9. So, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make it 68. Instead of 70. So 68 minus 32 is 36 times 5/9. I can cross out that. 4 is 20. So 68 Fahrenheit is 20 centigrade. That's why I don't like centigrade. That sounds depressing. If it's 68, it's nice out. If I was like in Europe and they said it's 20 degrees outside, I'd be beat before the day even started. Right? I guess you'd get used to it. At any rate, we're going to display the answer on the screen, and we're going to draw a thermometer that looks like this. All right? There's a 0 down here, 100 down here, and we'll make so if it's 20 degrees, it'll go up roughly a fifth of the way up. I probably made it go a little high. All right? How are we going to do this? You guys are thinking, I ain't the one that said we're going to do this. You're the one that said we're going to do this. So come on, let's hear it. How do you suppose we're going to do this? I'm guessing, based on what we've gone over previously in class, that really the tricky part is probably the thermometer, right? Let's think this through, all right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to have an HTML form that's going to have a text box on it. Okay, we've dealt with those. We're going to have a button. We've dealt with that, all right? We're going to have, for lack of better word, I'll call it a label, but actually it's going to be like a span that's going to contain the results, all right? And when they fill in the number in here, 68, and click Convert, this label gets populated with the Fahrenheit, or with the equivalent centigrade temperature. That part, I would think, if you don't know exactly how to do it, you probably, the examples we gave before probably would give you a sort of a good idea of what we want to do there. All right? So that's part of the assignment. The thermometer part is going to be the part that's going to be tricky. Any guesses on what we're going to do?
divide whatever your conversion is by the maximum
Okay.
potential value and then somehow take that ratio.
Okay. The real answer is that there's like a lot of ways we could do this, right? There's a lot of ways we could do this. I could do it with images, right? Maybe we'll do it a couple ways. Who knows? We might just go crazy and work on this the rest of the semester. All right? We could do it with images, right? In other words, we could make our sort of blank thermometer, and let's say we make it 500 pixels high. So we have an image that's essentially a blank thermometer of 500 pixels high, and we could even divide it into 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And we could even put the tick marks here if we wanted to in our blank image. And it's a certain size. All right? We could then create, and let's say it's 500 pixels. So each degree is what? 5 pixels. So I could make a little red 5 by 5 pixel image. All right? And I could display that as many times as the temperature. So if it is 20 degrees, we display 20 of those 5 pixel images. Yes?
Could you use a big image and only use that number that you converted as your percentage to only fill that image up partially? Like move it down 20 pixels?
Yeah, sure.
Then you're pulling in the number conversion and actually...
Yeah, well, either way we're going to have to do that, right? Either way we're going to have to take the result of the conversion and either display the small image 50 times or shift down the image. All right? So yeah, we could do it that way. That'd be one possibility of how to do it. Other thoughts of how to do it. Well, we could divide. Now this would get messy. We could divide this into sections, and actually we could set. You know, I like this way the best. We could define a div that was a certain size. All right, and then based on the converted temperature, we could set the height of another div to be that size. That might be the way we're going to start this out, but we could do it with images as well. We'll try this a couple different ways. Why am I doing this? All right, I'm doing this because I want to show, what's the best way to put this? I want to show the flexibility and the power of using the DOM in association with JavaScript. All right, because the point of this is not to make a thermometer. You know, you could go to the drug mart and buy a thermometer, right? But the point is that we can really change anything about this page any way we want. And we can do it dynamically. We can do it based on the value of something. So we'll try and we'll play around and we'll do it a couple different ways. All right? And we'll see which way we like and which way is the cleanest code. All right? So that's sort of the point of this, to sort of explore in a little more detail how to do this. I probably will, by the way, do it with the images because that's relevant to your next homework assignment. So regardless of which way we try it, I probably will try it with images as well because that's sort of a nice preview for your assignment. All right. The one thing I might do, by the way, is I might extend the thermometer horizontally instead of vertically. All right. Okay. So let's go and let's start on this. I'm going to make a folder. Conversion. Let's copy this and put in there. Oh, that did me a lot of good. All right, so I'm going to take the example we had last time. I'm going to change the title here to temperature. And I'm going to get rid of this JavaScript stuff here because we're going to substitute some new stuff in there. I will go in and gut this out. And let's go in and start putting stuff in. Do keep in mind, again, you should have completed web pages. I, in the interest of time, a lot of times will simply sort of put in the parts that are most important, but you should take the time to format the page to look like a completed web page. Input, type equals text. I'm going to give it an ID because I know I'm probably going to grab the value from it. So I'll say text F for Fahrenheit. Why am I putting IDs on some of these things and not putting IDs on others? Any thoughts? I put IDs on 2 of the 3 things. Now I put it on 2 of the 4 things, but on 2 of the things I did not put an ID. Yeah, the things that I know I want to address in the code, I'm going to put an ID on. That gives me the hook to hook into it. So in this case, I know that I want to grab the value for the text box. So I have an ID of text txtf. The button, I really don't need to grab anything from the button, right? So I don't really have an ID. The label I don't really need to grab anything for. The results I do need to grab. I need to be able to point to it so that I can type in, or that I can put in the converted value once it's converted. All right? So, where's the event going to go? What is going to set this thing in motion? Clicking the button. So therefore, what is the event? On click. Might be obvious to you, but I think it bears repeating because sometimes people get confused and are a little puzzled for a second where to put the event. Like, for example, if you're doing an image swap and you put your mouse over a thumbnail and an image changes. It's not the big image that the event is on. It's the one that the user interacts with. So the event goes not where the change to the page is going to take place, but rather to the thing on the page that the user interacts with. And what's the user interacting with here? The user is interacting with a button. So I will say onClick equals, and just for giggles, I'll say calculate. And that will be the name of the function. It could be anything I wanted to. I just have to match that as the function name when I create it. So I will go here and say function. Calculate. All right. What do I have to do? Now, do keep in mind that there can be slight variations in exactly how you code this. What do I want to do first, though? Yes. Yeah, get the temperature they entered. How am I going to do that? What's the syntax to do that? Document. Dot get element by ID. Then I give the name of the ID. Am I done with that then? What's the ID? It's txtf. Actually, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to store that in a temperature. So I'm going to say T equals. Am I done? No. All right. Remember that this is a DOM expression to points to the thing on the page that has the ID of txtf. That happens to be this input tag. This input tag is an object. All right. What do I mean by an object? Well, there's a lot that you can study about object-oriented programming. For the purposes of this class, it's enough to know that objects have associated with them not necessarily just one property, but multiple properties. All right. We looked at the image tag before, right? An image tag, there's at least two attributes or two properties that we can change: the src and the alt attribute. So an input tag also has a bunch of attributes. We're interested in the attribute that contains the value of that text box, that is, the contents of that. And the attribute name for that is .value. So T equals document get element by ID txtf dot value. What that will do is that will pluck the value out of that text box and put it in a variable called T. All right? Now, do we know that it's a number? Absolutely not. It could be anything. We'll worry about that later. Yes? Could I have passed that? Yes, I could have. I could have had in here actually an expression that looks similar to that and grabbed the value and passed it in as an argument. So yeah, you could do it that way. We'll look more about functions and arguments in later examples. All right. So I grab the value T. Actually, let's make it TF for temperature in Fahrenheit equals that. TC then equals TF minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. Again, this works similar to what you'd have in like an algebra class. There's the order of operations, the sequence of operations. Multiplication and division take place prior to addition and subtraction. But you can alter that order by including things in parentheses. So in this case, that subtraction happens first. So I'll take the temperature in Fahrenheit, subtract 32 from it, then multiply it by 5, then divide it by 9. All right, so that's, if I did it this way, it would multiply 32 by 5, divide that by 9, and subtract the result from TF. So I'd get the wrong answer. I need to do that multiplication first, or I'm sorry, the subtraction before I do the multiplication. Now, what's the last thing I want to do here? I want to go and I want to display the converted temperature, the number value of the converted temperature. So what I can do, how would I do that? Have to point at the span where I want to put the results. That has a clever ID of results. So I can say Again, that span is an object. It has a bunch of properties associated with it. All right, so we can't just say that equals something. We have to choose what property we want. And what property do we use if we want to put something in that tag? Not right. Yes. Inner HTML. We'll set that inner HTML equal to the value of TC. Now, those of you that have done almost any other programming language notice that nowhere in here did I declare the variable TF or TC. And if I declared it, I didn't, and in not declaring it, not only did I not declare it, I also didn't specify anywhere the type of that data. JavaScript is weakly typed, which means that it figures out what type to make the data. It looks like I'm using those as numbers, so it's going to try to treat them as numbers. If they're numbers, fine. If they're not numbers, then it will give me some sort of error when it does the calculation. And we'll see exactly what happens. We're not going to worry about validation this minute. All right, we're gonna play nice and only put in valid numbers for a while, and then later on we'll go back and we'll put some validation code in here. Okay, so let's save this and let's see if our very, very baseline functionality is working. So I put the temperature in Fahrenheit, 32 degrees. Convert to centigrade is 0. 212 is 100. 66, no, 76, no, 76. What did I put in before where I did the calculation? 68? Okay. Is 20. Okay. It just didn't seem right. Okay. So we're pretty sure that that's working. All right. Now let's go into, we can go a couple different directions on this. All right. First direction I want to go, and we may again do this a couple different ways, is we want to go and let's make a thermometer. All right, let's physically make a thermometer. And let's go in and let's show the temperature in the thermometer just by using CSS. So watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to declare a div. The ID equals thermometer 1, because we might do a couple thermometers here. I'm going to put some CSS in here. And I'm going to put a width of 500 pixels, a height of 5 pixels, and a background color of gray. So there's our thermometer underneath it. Let's make it a little bigger, and let's make it a little lighter gray. So I'll go in and I'll make the height of it 10 pixels, and we'll make the background # 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So there's our thermometer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another div inside it for What's in thermometers? It used to be mercury back when I was a kid, and they would break, and you'd play with them. Yeah, you'd break and you'd play with the mercury, and yeah, that probably explains a lot, right? But we'll call it the stuff inside. We'll call it the inside. I don't know. Not very imaginative today. So we'll call it inside one. Yeah, inside stuff. And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to make the inside stuff, just for giggles. I'm also going to make it a width of 500 and a height of 10. And I'm going to make the background red. I'm not going to make a 500 though, width of 500. I'm going to make the width of it 100, just to demonstrate what it's going to look like. Inside one, thank you. All right, so that's what my thermometer looks like, all right? And sure enough, that looks about a fifth of the way through, which it should be. If it's 20 degrees, it would be a fifth of the way through, all right? Now let's go and let's add some JavaScript here, all right? What do I do to make this thermometer really work? An if statement? Right. The width has to be a variable. I thought someone was going to yell out maintainability. That would have also been accepted. All right? Right. We have to make the width variable. We don't want it to always be showing 20 degrees. We want it to vary with the actual temperature. All right? So, that width property we have to set dynamically. And we have to set it based on what? Based on the value of Tc. All right? Our thermometer I've made to be 500 pixels, whereas 0 degrees Celsius is down here and 100 is over there. All right? So 0 degrees, 100 degrees is like that. So 50 degrees Celsius would be here. 20 degrees would be here, and so on. This is 5 pixels, right? Oh, I'm sorry, 500 pixels. My head's going faster than my mouth today. All right? 500 pixels is the whole width of that. So 500 pixels over 100 degrees means each pixel is, each degree is 5 pixels. So therefore, what I'm going to do is, if I take the temperature, multiply it by 5, and set the width of that, we might have a thermometer. Well, let's find out. How do I point to that? Well, how do I point to anything? Document. First I change the screens. Took me a second to hear what you said. Inside one. I want to change its style. I want to set its width equal to what? Well, Tc times 5. So, let's give it a default of 0 pixels. So if I go in and say 100 degrees centigrade is 37.888, yep, I got a problem.
How long does that variable last?
What variable? That variable only is alive within that function. Let's see if this works. All right, let's see what kind of error I'm getting here. CSTR is not defined. All right, let's see. Let's try this. There we go. So I'll put in 68. That should be about a fifth of the way because that's 20 degrees. I put in 212. That should be filled. I put in 32. That should be 0. All right. Let's look at this code. All right. Well, let's see. Let's try it here. Let's try that, and let's see what happens. The good news is I think I have an explanation either way. So, but I'm thinking this ain't going to work. Doesn't work. Why didn't it work? It's our old problem, the weakly typed variables. All right. TC is a number, right? Because it's the output of some mathematical operation. Times 5 is a number. Then it goes and tries to add a px to it. And it can't because px isn't a number. So it doesn't know what to do there. So it throws its arms up and gives up. Watch what happens when we do this. This is actually a nice demonstration of a weakly typed language. Because TC is a number. Does its calculation. Still a number. JavaScript, the browser attempts to execute that statement and says, I have a number plus a string. Well, you can take a number and numerically add a string to it. Oh, he must mean a string addition. He must mean to concatenate. And therefore, it concatenated the value of pixels plus the px on the end. The first pass through, I forgot to add the px on the end, and that's why it didn't work. But if I take the number of pixels, which is in TC, add px on the end, then it works, amazingly enough.
Why wouldn't it do it the other way?
What other way?
With putting the calculation in there, why won't it?
Because if you do this, it says, oh, TC times 5, that's a number.
Right.
All right? So this must be a numeric calculation. So I'm going to treat everything in this expression like a number. What is px? Px isn't a number. So therefore, it can't do the end.
TC times 5 put it in brackets, but if you can't do after that.
If I did the convert string function, which is what I was trying to do with the CSTR, it would work, but I just don't remember the convert string to JavaScript. It's probably C capital STR. But yeah, if I put in parens by itself, I don't think that would work. All right? But anyhow, this works. All right? Questions on this? All right, that's one way to do it. Let's go now and let's do it with the with the image method that I said we were going to do. All right? So, let's actually make two images. Let's copy this, first of all. We'll call this thermometer 2 and inside 2. I'm going to make an image that is 10 pixels high and 5 pixels wide. And I'm going to make a gray one and a red one. So I'm going to go here to attributes and I'll make it 5 wide and 10 high. There's my red one. So I will go and I will save. In here, red.jpg. I will then change it to gray. And save it as gray.jpg. So now let's look at this folder. All right. Now, what do you suppose I'm going to do here? All right. I'm going to do this with images. All right. Same idea, right? How many images do I want? How many red images do I want per degree? One. One red image indicates 1 degree. So, what would the HTML look like if it were 3 degrees outside? Well, the image would look like, or the HTML should look like this. Image source equals red.jpg. Image source equals red.jpg. Image source equals red.jpg. What will be the rest of the div? Be gray. So there'd be 97, and I'm not going to do that. There'd be 97 grays. All right. So, how can I do this? All right. For one thing, I don't actually need the div inside the div in this case. I can get this by with just the one div. I can actually just do this with the one div. What do I want in that div? I want a series of 100 images, right? The first n, whereas n is the temperature in centigrade, I want to be the red image. The rest of them I want to be the gray image. All right? So, any thoughts on how I'm going to do this? Yes. A loop, right? A loop or 2 loops, right? We could do it either way. Just for giggles, I'm going to do it in 1 loop. All right? And I'm going to say something like this. For I'm going to type this in. And then we'll see, we'll finish it up. So I'm going to do this in steps. That syntax. Does anyone care to tell me what that syntax is going to do? Go ahead.
Or keep on looping through, putting, well, when you put the image in there, keep putting the images in there until it reaches 100 of them.
Okay. True. It'll loop through actually 101 times. All right. What will the value of I be each iteration through the loop?
+1.
Well, it's going to start out at 0. Each iteration will be incremented by 1. So the first trip through the array will be 0. Second trip through will be 1. The third trip through will be 2, and so on. It will do that as long as I is less than 101. So when I is 100, it's going to still be looping. When I hits 101, it drops out of the loop. So it will do it from I equals 0 to 101. All right. What's it going to do, though? All right. This is where we want to go, and we want to look to see, do we want to make a gray image or a red image? How do we know whether we want a gray or a red image? If I is less than what? TC. Then I want a red image. Otherwise, I want a gray image. What if it's equal to TC? You're right. It should probably be I less than or equal to TC. Yeah. Now, there's a bunch of ways I could do this, right? I'm going to make a mistake here. All right. I'll let you know I'm going to do that on purpose, right? So I can still claim victory on this one. All right. I'm going to do this, and this is going to be wrong. Okay, let me look at it for a second. All right, this is going to be wrong. Let's see how it's wrong, and let's see if we can figure out what we need to do. Okay. Oh. We better do a different variable here. I don't know why the first one stopped working. We'll have to figure that one out. I'll comment out that code for now. And we'll come back and we'll figure out what's wrong with that one and fix it again. Because right now I want to focus on that second thermometer. Why is it only showing one square? I have a loop for 100 images. Why is it only showing the one square? Yeah. Yeah. Because each iteration through the loop, I keep replacing what's in that HTML with an image. All right? So it'll replace it with a red one, then it'll replace the red one with another red one, and do that over and over again until finally it hits and replaces that last one. So I don't want to replace what's there with that. I want to add on to it. Okay? And there's a couple of ways that we can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to say out equals an empty string. And then I'm going to say out equals whatever was in out before plus the red image or the gray image And then finally, when I'm all done, I'm going to say inner HTML equals out. And that should work. Oops. All right, let's see if we're getting a JavaScript there. Oh, thank you. No, yeah, thank you. It's going crazy there. There we go. Well, that one's working. Right. And out equals empty string for okay, there we go. We're getting there, slowly but surely. All right, so let's put 68 in. All right. We're off a little bit with this. We might be doing one too many iteration through the loop. Yeah, let's see. I'll get the match. Do keep in mind, again, it's not meant to be a scientific instrument. I'm sure there's rounding error all over the place and all that. 68. Yeah, still one off. Well, yeah. Oh, I equals 1. Right. Well, I is 1. I is less than 101. If I is less than, yeah. Well, let's see. Okay, still want the equal. All right, thank you for the assistance. There we go. Yay, and there they look the same. All right, again, the purpose of this, is it to demonstrate how to make? No, absolutely not. The purpose is just sort of having fun with the DOM and sort of seeing all the different things that we can do. Let's review just in this example what we did. All right? We, through the DOM, change the style of something. We change the style of the width. Through the DOM, we went and made, created some HTML. And there's actually a couple different ways that we could create HTML, but this is one of them. So we created HTML in there. We may, for the next time, go over a third way to do this or whatever, just again to get more practice with the DOM. Now, obviously, the problem is that had me stumped for a couple seconds here is that this isn't doing any validation. So if I put bad numbers in, then who knows what's happening with the thermometer. All right. So therefore, that'll be one of our steps to do as well, to do some checking before we do this calculation. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to consider the fact that maybe this centigrade to Fahrenheit conversion is something we'd want to do in other programs. All right, and maybe this drawing a thermometer is something we'd want to do in other programs. So we'll look at how we can go and make this code more reusable. Because right now this code works on this page. You had asked earlier about having an argument in the function. All right, and yeah, arguments make the functions more flexible. So we're going to work up to that in this example, to where we're going to have a function that gets past arguments. All right. Yes?
Two questions. One is when you define the style.width,
Mm-hmm.
would you do it the same way if it was in a separate cascading style?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that this is an internal, I just do that just so that we can see them both at the same time.
Second question is, I think we're supposedly having the test on. What's usually the format on your test?
I will make the call this weekend. There's a good chance that the test or quiz will be delayed, so it probably won't be next week. I always kind of play those by ear, but yeah, we'll probably delay that one. But I'll have a better idea at the end of this week. All right. Other questions? I will make sure that we upload this, and we'll see you over in Lab.